Hello you, come in and sit down. If you're watching this video, that means that two very exciting things have happened. Firstly, that I've plucked up the courage to actually post to YouTube and put my life out there. I've been documenting Grace's life kind of loosely on TikTok, then on Instagram since she was born a year ago. And this is like the third way in which I'm then documenting our lives together as a family and how our family's growing. Which brings me on to my second point, which is if you're watching this, that means that I've announced my second pregnancy with our next little baby due around Christmas time this year, 2021. So I'm going to give you today the 5-week pregnancy update. I'm in my 5th week of pregnancy now. I'm just coming up to 6 weeks, so it's towards the end, but I can tell you how I found out, how I've been feeling, and kind of the plans going forward in terms of scans and gender reveals and all that kind of stuff. So grab a, poison of your choice. I'm a hot chocolate drinker because I don't actually drink caffeine that much anyway, aside from the fact that I can't drink loads of caffeine now. But whatever your poison is, grab it and let's have a chat. So, as I said, I am 5 weeks pregnant now. I found out really early on, which was exactly the same as my last pregnancy with my daughter Grace, who's now just turned 1. So she was 1 at the beginning of April. I found out with both of those pregnancies really, really early doors. So this time around, I found out at 3 weeks and 5 days, and that's by the NHS calculation. So actually, in terms of conception, I found out literally less than 2 weeks later, which is nice because then I know early on, and it's nice to see a strong line really early on, but it does mean that these first 12 weeks of pregnancy last time for me dragged, and they're dragging already. So we're getting used to that. It's not a surprise pregnancy. It was something that we had discussed and said that we were ready to start thinking about. However, with our daughter, it took me 6 months to fall pregnant with her, and in that time I had a miscarriage as well. So we were expecting this to be a similar sort of experience, I guess, if not the miscarriage, which I hope obviously won't happen to us again. Then I still believe that it would take about 6 months to fall pregnant again. However, it was literally in the first month of trying that I fell pregnant. So it's been a pleasant surprise, but it's definitely happened quicker than we thought that it would. By the way, when I'm referring to we, if you don't follow me on my other socials, I'm talking about myself and my husband, Steve. We've been together nearly 7 years and married for 2. So yeah, this will be our second child together. For finding out, I swear by the first response early result tests, which are the pink ones. And it says on the packet that you can find out 6 days before your missed period. And those are the ones that I've always used. That's what I used for Grace. That's what I used for the pregnancy before Grace. And they come up straight away. I actually tested a few days before, so maybe three weeks plus 3 days, and it was negative, but I could have sworn I could see a line. And then I tested again a couple of days later and it was positive, but obviously a very faint positive, and then you see it get darker and darker over the coming days. I am a peeing on a stick junkie. As soon as I think there's a chance that I might be pregnant, I'm literally weeing on a stick every day. And the same with when we were planning our pregnancy with Grace. We did a lot more ovulation tracking and stuff because I wasn't so in tune with my cycle then. And yeah, every day it was peeing on a different stick. So I have done multiple pregnancy tests for this baby, even to the point that I did one this morning, a clear blue digital, because I wanted to make sure that obviously it calculates the time, how far pregnant you are. I wanted to make sure that the time was moving on. So I had 2 to 3 weeks last week on it, and today when I tested again, it went up to 3+ weeks. So it just gives me comfort that my HCG, that's right, isn't it? HCG levels are rising, and that the pregnancy is continuing, and that all the hormones are supporting it, basically. Now that I've announced, I will put out onto my Instagram a pregnancy Q&A so that I can film that and answer all of the questions that I think will come up quite a lot. But one of the main ones that's kind of playing on my mind at the minute is gender. So with Grace, we didn't find out what we were having, and I'm sure Steve won't mind me saying that that was very much his idea, something that he really wanted, and he wanted to keep it a surprise. And he says, firstly, it's because of my shopping habits, and he knows that I'd spend way more on baby clothes if I knew what we were having. But more importantly, he says that he doesn't want us to create an idea of what our baby will be like before we've even had it based on gender. However, for me, it wasn't that I didn't feel that I bonded with Grace straight away, but I was just so surprised that she was a girl, because I was convinced that I was having a boy, that the first emotion that I really had towards her was just shock. And I don't want to feel that this time. I really want to feel bonded to the baby before they're born and not have that element of surprise again. I don't love surprises anyway. So we have chosen and agreed to find out the gender this time, and Steve's happy with that, and he said it's fair that this time round we kind of do it the way that I would prefer. So we have decided to find out the gender. We have actually ordered a early gender DNA test from a place called, I think it's called Sneak Peek Gender or Sneak Peek DNA, something like that. And it was about £50, and it comes in the post. And once you reach your 8th week of pregnancy, you can do this DNA test. It's like a pinprick test, and then you send it off, and within a few days they tell you what you're having. We decided to have a little gender reveal photo shoot, and one of my friends is helping me to do that, so it'll be a surprise for us as well when we do that. But it does mean that these first few weeks are we're like, oh, when are we going to find out? It's exciting, but the anticipation is just killing me, because I would love for Grace to have a sister. I'll be happy either way, I just want to make that very clear. But I never had a sister growing up, and I feel like you can't beat that bond of two sisters together, especially where they're going to be so close in age. So they will be, when baby's born, around 21 months apart, which is a much smaller gap than I ever thought that I wanted. But I think there are a lot of pros to having a small gap, and that's what I'm relying on in my thoughts when I start to think, oh my God, I'm going to have 2 under 2. I remind myself that there are lots of pros, and the pros that I think mainly are, I'm hoping they'll have a really good sibling bond. I'll have another maternity leave from work, which means I'll get to spend another 9 or 10 months with Grace off of work before she starts school, and in general just doing all the baby things together anyway. If I'm changing a bum, I've got to change 2. It's not that much more effort, rather than coming out of that whole reliance on me and Steve for things like that, and then getting back into it. I'm already in that rhythm of bottles, feeding, bum changes, etc. So I'm hoping that that will make it easier. But I think whatever your age gap, it ends up being the right one for your family. So in terms of symptoms then, like I say, I found out really, really early on, which means that my symptoms didn't start until after I had the positive test. And Steve said to me, oh, maybe that's because it's like a placebo effect, that you're pregnant, so you're looking for symptoms. But I have written down everything that's kind of happened since I found out at around 4 weeks up until now. Like I say, I'm nearly 6 weeks. And the most intense symptom that I've had so far is period pains and cramping, and everything just feeling like it's kind of stretching out down there again. I don't know whether I'm feeling that more because it's not actually been an enormous amount of time since I had my last baby. So yeah, literally 12 months between giving birth and falling pregnant again. So it might just be that everything's still a little bit loose. But that's how I felt. I've just really noticed that pain both in the front and at the back. I've never really had the symptom of sore boobs. I know a lot of people say that their breasts get really tender in early pregnancy, and that might be their first indication that they're pregnant. But I've didn't have that last time and I haven't had that this time, so that's not been an indicator for me. Another symptom that I was worried about that hasn't really come on yet is sickness. So in my first pregnancy I was really nauseous from quite early on, and also like I was actually physically sick multiple times a day when that morning sickness really kicked in, which was around the 6-week mark. So I'm interested to see what happens next week and whether that really picks up, because at the moment it hasn't set in at all. My sense of smell has been off the charts. I can smell everything from like really far away as well. So now with like nappies, it's becoming really difficult because the smell of it is just so intense. I think Steve's starting to get really annoyed with me as well, because I keep saying, have you farted? Because I can just smell everything all the time. So that's a bit of a weird symptom. I think it's also making my sense of taste quite strong as well. I had a tomato and chilli pasta the other day, which I have fairly regularly, and I don't really struggle with the heat, but literally all I could taste was chilli, and I wonder whether it's because my sense of smell is heightened, it's making my sense of taste heightened as well. So I'm struggling a bit with spicy food as a result, and yeah, literally can smell everything. I'm finding myself gagging during the nappy changes now, which is not at all enjoyable. A strange symptom that I've been having is that my dreams have become really vivid. I'm a dreamer anyway, in terms of I dream every night, and most nights I like remember what my dreams are in the morning, at least when I first wake up. But at the moment they're very vivid. I'm sleeping very deeply when I do go to sleep, even if like I'm having a nap during the day, which by the way I am having probably too frequently. I'm very much on the sleep when baby sleeps wavelength, and Grace is such a good sleeper that it means that I have that luxury to really be able to get the rest that I need, because tiredness has started to set in now, and I am finding that I'm getting tired earlier in the evening and also during the day. So I'm doing a lot of napping and a lot of sleeping, but both during my naps and at night my dreams have become super vivid. And the final symptom I wanted to tell you about is that I've just from time to time had this general feeling of unease, it's not really anxiety, it's just feeling a bit out of sorts and not quite myself. So I've kind of been trying to deal with that mostly through comfort eating and food and chocolate and all the kinds of things I probably shouldn't be eating, because although they say eat for two, you don't actually need any more calories. So I mean, I'm taking the more old-fashioned view that I'm eating for two. But yeah, this general just kind of, it's like an icky feeling inside has been bothering me in the last week or so. But generally so far, I'm not finding this pregnancy too difficult. Like I say, next week will be the real test of whether the sickness kind of sets in. And I guess that will be the first indicator of whether we might be having another girl or a boy. I know all pregnancies can be different, but I am also aware that like morning sickness is more common in pregnancies with girls, and that would kind of indicate to me that it's similar to my last pregnancy. So we'll see how the next week goes. I will show you now just a shot of my bump. At the moment, it's very much a food baby, and it's just bloat. There's no, like, it's not hard. There's no real, like, bump forming there. However, I do feel that it looks bigger than it did the first time round when I was 5 weeks with Grace. It wasn't noticeable at all. I am back to my pre-pregnancy weight that I was before I had Grace. So like the fact that it's showing, not like really showing, but I just feel like there is a noticeable bloat there, kind of indicates to me that maybe I'll have a bigger bump this time. And I was actually enormous with Grace as well. I'm only 5'3", I'm a size 8, and Grace when she was born was £9.6. So she was a big baby for a woman of my size. and towards the end it was just enormous. So that's playing on my mind, how the bump's going to grow, but I don't weigh myself in pregnancy. I didn't last time and I don't intend to this time, because like, why would I make myself feel bad about something that I can't actually control? So they'll do my weight at my booking appointment. I won't ask to see it, I won't look at it in my notes, and I won't take much notice of it at all until after I've had the baby, I've recovered, and I'm ready to start thinking about like eating a bit healthier and stuff, because I don't eat healthily in pregnancy. That should get that out there. Grace was raised in the womb on Chinese and chips and McDonald's, etc. So I expect to be doing very much the same this time round. I haven't told anyone that I'm pregnant yet, apart from Steve, obviously, and I recorded his reaction and I'll put it in here. I just put like a little clip in there, which was the best bit.
My God, she's got such talented sperms. Such talent.
I am planning to tell like my close friends and family before I reach the 12-week mark, and that's what we did with Grace as well. So next week on Tuesday we have a scan, a early pregnancy scan, and I will be 6 weeks plus 2 days when we have that done. And like I say, we had that with Grace. It was just really reassuring to see the heartbeat on the scan, given that I'd had the previous miscarriage and I didn't even get to the point of having the scan when I miscarried. So to get to the scan for me is quite a big milestone anyway. I'm not like necessarily worried about miscarrying this time. I would like to think that that would be really, really unlucky for someone to go through that twice, having had a successful pregnancy in between. However, it is something that is playing on my mind, and I'm hoping that my concerns will be settled once I've seen the heartbeat on a scan. And if you look into the research and stuff, basically what it says is once you've seen a viable heartbeat on a scan, the risk of miscarriage comes down loads. So I'm hoping that will be really reassuring, and I can update you on that next week. But I haven't told anyone about the pregnancy yet. I'm waiting until the scan, and then I'll be able to tell like my mum and dad, my brother, my sister-in-law and my close friends, and those will be the only people that I'm telling then before I get to around 12 weeks and have my proper NHS scan. So thanks for coming and watching my 5-week pregnancy update. Like I say, I mean, I'm talking about it as if all of it's happening in the future, but if you're watching this, like, things have progressed okay, which is quite reassuring, I guess. So yeah, I'll continue to update you anyway over the coming weeks, because the first trimester can be so lonely, because you're just waiting to tell people and just hoping that everything goes okay. So hopefully these early pregnancy updates provide comfort to you. If you've recently found out you're pregnant, then congratulations. If it's your first pregnancy, oh my God, so excited for you. You are literally about to go on the best journey of your life. Like, I cannot believe how much I've enjoyed motherhood so far, when it's not that I wasn't a maternal person, but it wasn't really at the forefront of my life's plan until I started having like nieces and nephews, and then I thought, actually that looks quite fun. But literally nothing compares to having your own child. So congratulations if this is your first pregnancy, or your second, or your third, or your fourth. Let me know down below. And yeah, I hope everything goes okay for you over the coming weeks, and I will update you next week. Bye.